Hi, welcome back. Any question before starting? Something that isn't clear in the other lectures? Everything is fine? Okay. So, everything is already online, both on Kiro and on the unofficial guide. You can have the slides for this and next lecture. They are already online. So just to remind you, we'll do the second one at 13:30 at 1:30 this afternoon. Next ones will be October 21, in which we will have both the different classes. And if everything goes as planned, I will have my furry assistant, so I will have the dog. And the next lecture will be on October 28th in the afternoon. There will be no lecture in the morning. Unfortunately, I've got a couple of things to do. So the plan for today is finishing up why we're talking about online reputation, mainly when we talk about reputation, why we are focusing on the online and not the offline part. Then we'll start with a let's play on stakeholder, and we'll close the matter of stakeholders possibly today. So let's see if everything goes as planned or not. So you may have seen that when we are talking about reputation, we are constantly talking about online reputation itself. It wasn't always like this. It used to be a very different world in which we lived 5 to 10 years ago in reputation, in the reputation landscape. And most of the time, 5 to 10 years ago, we were mostly focused on media, on traditional media, so on newspapers, on television programs, etc. Let's talk a little bit about value. At least we have already seen that at least 25% of companies' market value is directly influenced by reputation. That means if you take in account the value you are assigning to any kind of organization, being it a brand, being it a non-profit or a large firm, at least 25% of the global value has to be attributed to reputation. Why am I saying at least? There are several different market sectors in which this figure can be quite different. Take an example. Take, for example, fashion brands. In fashion brands, that figure goes up. It can be as much as 75% of the global value. When you're talking about fashion brands, most of the time you are not talking about reliability of the brands itself. You are maybe talking about something that has just started and most probably will not be here in 10 years. There are a few fashion brands that are quite iconic and historic. You can name on your mind several of them, but most of the time you're talking about fast fashion. So something that may be fashionable, may be desirable right now and in a couple of years could be quite obscure or not even known in the space of a couple of years. I can give you a lot of different examples. Marlboro Country. Marlboro Country was a fashion brand, sort of country brand, so leather and all this stuff, that was mainly promoted by a tobacco company, that Marlboro of the cigarettes. Used to be quite a fad, used to be quite important. Right now, you don't even know about that. So if the value of the brand would reside in the quality of the product itself, you would know about that. For example, you may not like so much some fashion brands like Timberland, but you know the existence of the brand itself. for some iconic product. So the value of the brand itself is mostly attributable to reputation in several different ways. The very least figure we have is 25%, and we're talking mostly about B2B products. So a brand that is mainly known for business to business, B2B, has quite a lot of importance based on its reputation in the interoperability with customers or with brand quality. And when we talk about reputation and most of the economy, we normally talk about the ability to get enough information to feel comfortable setting the terms. What does it mean? That is the definition of reputation economy taken from the World Economic Forum. The ability, the possibility of knowing the brand, not with direct interaction. If you think about that, the reputation economy means we are setting some sort of standard value of something, someone, a product, a brand, not with direct experience. I may feel something about the brand, I may feel something about the quality of the brand, their intrinsic value, etc., based solely on feedbacks, on different evaluations. One of the easiest examples I can give you is about restaurants, for example. You choose a restaurant in a part of the world you've never been, in a city you've never been, just based on reviews. You have no direct access on the product itself. It may be that the restaurant is a shitty place. It may be that it's a beautiful place, but you are making an economic choice, so giving your money to one restaurant or the other one, solely based on a feedback that is given by someone else. If you think about that, that is quite strange, you know. As human beings, we are sort of accustomed to having an opinion on direct experience or tribal experiences. A few years back, you would have phone called one of your friends in that city asking for good restaurants to dine on, or asked someone around, stopping your car and asking some of the people that lived nearby for an information, or you may have asked your taxi driver, where should I eat this evening? Is there any kind of place you sort of recommend? Or the hotel you are residing with. As a matter of fact, there was all sort of economic intersection between different professions. So, for example, in many cities in the world, the taxi driver would get a small percentage of your spending on different restaurants or hotel if they sort of recommended that to you. So they had an economic incentive, and that is totally another point of view. So how can you be assured that the people proposing you something is really giving you an unbiased or fair opinion if they have some sort of economical value into proposing them? And by the way, you're facing the same kind of problem with influencers. That is the main advertising part of influencers. And it's a huge problem, by the way. In several different countries, there are precise codes of ethics and precise laws pinpointing how an influencer can do or can't do influencer marketing, and how they are supposed to disclose any kind of economic partnership. You may, it's quite easy to grasp, is your influencer proposing you this item because he gets 25% of each and every single sales, or because it's an honest opinion on the product itself? There is no standard answer to this, but you may find out why it's so important to disclose any kind of economic partnership, even a gratuity. In most of Europe, for example, even if influencers are not really bound to follow any legislation most of the time, but in most of the European countries, influencers should disclose any kind of gratuity. So if they got a service for free or not. Think about that. She is going, what's her name again? Alessandra is a travel influencer, okay? So she does a lot of different content in these incredible hotel in the Dolomites, okay? She has been writing a lot of different reviews, a lot of different stories, pricing how it is high-end and how the value for money is quite astounding. So it is pricey, it is on the pricier side, but the level of service you are getting is quite top-notch. But even if she is not paid to do that kind of advertising, the fact that the hotel is providing all the service for free may have a little bit of edge on how she is proposing that kind of value for money, It's not her money. So having that as a gratuity is something that should be disclosed. It is mandatory to be disclosed in Italy, in France, in Germany, in Austria, in Spain. I don't know about any other countries. In the United States, the Federal Trade Commission has some peculiar code of ethics that force the disclosure. And so you have all those fake or strange hashtags, something like sponsored or provided by, gifted, etc. Technically speaking, every single time you see any story or post on Instagram, the same accounts on the boomers, the boomers social networks, so Facebook or the younger social network TikTok. Any single time you do not see the mandatory sponsored videos or sponsored partnership, and it's a gifted content, you are seeing someone that is violating the current law. Every single time, even if it's gifted, you should see the banner on top left of the sponsored part or gifted by. Most of the time you don't get it. Why? Because people know about that. And so content that has that kind of specification has a very low engagement, has a very low spreading, has a very low number of content, or you get some sort of bad content or a bad comment about that. So it's something like, yeah, no, it's a fair value for money if you pay the zero for that. So most of the time you will find content creators using sketchy tactics, something like 40 different hashtags on the image, and in the middle, in the smaller one, is ADV, advertising. A lot of different FUD, a lot of different beautiful morning, relaxing Sunday, advertising. Gift, beautiful experience, I love summer, gifted by. And all this, technically speaking, it's called the keyword stuffing or hashtag stuffing. Anytime you see that sketchy way of promoting data and promoting a brand, you know that something, stinks in the promotion itself. If you feel obligated to sort of hide out the promotion, there is something sketchy about all of this. Just take and pay a little bit more of attention in the next few days, and you will find out most of the content creators will do that kind of sketchy behavior. So why are we talking about online? Let's take a third world country, for example, because in the first world country, we have different dynamics. So let's take a third world country as an example, Italy. So we have these beautiful statistics by Global Web Index and the University of Sant'Anna that says that 66% of internet use of Italian citizens are constantly on Facebook or any kind of social media. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. 66% of people are using the internet. And the problem is not about how many people are using. You would suppose even more than that. But think about the older people. It's a number that is always increasing. But the problem is not about using the internet. It's the second part of the study that says that they are using the internet as the primary source of information to create a world view. So the problem is not in the fact they are using internet. As a matter of fact, using internet could be a blessing. You will find a lot of different information from real world people, not only the press release that are shared by the company itself. The problem is when you are relying on social media and on the web itself, so Google search, nowadays a lot of chat GPT suggestions, etc. You are relying on that kind of information to create your worldview. And that is incredibly dangerous, but it's a matter of fact. Many of you could tell me, oh, no, it's not really true. We are still relying on news. Well, you are, sort of. 64% of the internet users globally only gets news that are shared on social media. What does it mean? You're not really reading the news. You're not opening up a newspaper. You're not opening up the website of your favorite newspaper and looking at all the news. You are not buying a newspaper and reading it cover to cover. You're not buying a magazine and reading it cover to cover, unless it's some sort of your hobbit, okay? You may end up buying soccer magazines or your favorite sport magazine or video games magazine and reading at that, but you are not actively seeking for news. You are just finding out which news enter into your bubble. So which news you find out on your social media feed. And the problem is you build your worldview on what you see on social media with the assumption that what you are seeing on social media is a fair and statistically accurate representation of what is happening into the world. So, if you go online and you only see a couple of different news, in your mind, that means those are the solely and only news that are present right now. And I'm not talking about you as a younger generation. Most of Europeans get the news that are within their social media feeds and only the news that are present on their social media feeds. Those and only those. So, if you think a little bit about that, beautiful scenery outside. If you think a little bit about that, that is the main part of the problem. In your mind, opening up the internet, opening up your social media feed is a fair representation of the statistically accurate portrait of reality. It is not. Social media feeds are mainly tailored upon your behavior, your preferences, your group of friends, your Weltanschauung, your view of the world. If you are a mostly left political person, most of the things you will see are on those point of view. If you are mostly a right-wing person, most of the news you get are right-leaning. It's not about, by the way, it's not about some evil conspiracy on feeding you some sort of narrative. It's not about an evil most of the time, it's not about an evil conspiracy from the social media websites to feed you with a preset narrative. Most of the times. We will get into that. Most of the time it is not. It's just what happens. You may have experienced that quite a lot. If you end up interacting a lot with some sort of content, dark jokes, okay, and you stay on that dark joke and you see that a couple of times, you will find out that the algorithm will feed you a lot of different dark jokes. If you end up looking at cats, your social media feed will show you a lot of cats. If you just take half-naked women dancing on your feed, you will get feeded a lot of scantily dressed women. If you are going to the gym and you are taking a look at calisthenics or you're finding out some new sports, you will find out a lot of that information. It's not about some sort of dark and obscure conspiracy on your point of view. It's just how the social media works. So, if I feed you information you are not really interested on, you will just stop scrolling. Let's just imagine that, let's take someone else. What's your name again? Gaia. I will forget the names, sorry about that. So, Gaia has to work with, Gaia has a friend that is going to Lebanon, okay? So she wants to find out a little bit about Lebanon, etc., because she is sort of, I don't know, she's sort of planning of going with her friends. So she looks a lot about Lebanon and starts with something incredibly easy. Goes on Instagram, write down Lebanon, or Lebanon cuisine, or Lebanon dish, or what to see on Lebanon, and just scroll a little bit about Lebanon. Since we are all attention whores, she will spend a couple of hours mindlessly scrolling in there. But for the next few months, she will have a lot of content about Lebanon. Not only that, she will sort of think that Lebanon is sort of the way to go this summer. Because she used to not see Lebanon. She didn't even know where Lebanon was on a map. No, I'm joking. She didn't, almost, yeah. I'm almost joking. Shame, 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 shame. So, she didn't even know about Lebanon before, but right now, she is finding out a lot about Lebanon. And so, in her mind, but not because she is stupid, because she is distracted, so she doesn't think about the implications of the feed, and not because she's dumb. I don't know about that. I sort of presume you are not. Okay? I give you the benefit of that. So, but just because she doesn't really think about that. She spent, 4 weeks ago, she spent an entire Sunday laying on the sofa and scrolling about Lebanon cuisine. That's all. By the end of Sunday, her friends say something like, "Oh no, I'm not going anymore." So she doesn't even remember about wasting that kind of time. Okay, it's sort of my standard life. A part of me wants to sleep. The other part of me wants to know if penguin has knees. Penguins do have knees, by the way. I wouldn't let you go the end of the lecture without knowing that important information, bit of information. So, she totally forget about that. But her social media feed is quite full of content. So, she finds out a lot about Lebanon and Lebanese cuisine. And she gets sort of a itch about Lebanese cuisine. So she will start recommending a couple of different Lebanese restaurants to most of you. You are talking about where should we dine Saturday evening? Oh, I found this beautiful new restaurant doing Lebanese cuisine here in Pavia. Let's check it. So she's spreading a little bit of that. And most of you will have a little bit more Lebanese content within your social media feeds. Then you go to that restaurant and a couple of you share a couple of photos tagging Lebanese cuisine. So most of the people around you will get infected with Lebanese cuisine. Not only that, she will get a little bit of Lebanese political problems because she spent a lot of trouble, and she will find out a couple of different Lebanese manifestations against Israel or something like that. She will find that out. Never before in her life she would be exposed to that kind of information. But right now, everything in her social media feed is about Lebanon. So she will find out a little bit about that problem. And since she is a political conscious person, she will spend a little bit of time. She doesn't know anything about the Lebanese unrest. So she will look at 2-3 different stories. Maybe she will follow a couple of different influencers or journalists being in Lebanon or in Lebanese occupied zones. So she will know a lot about that. And most of you will get a little bit of that. In her point of view, there is a lot of problem in Lebanon. And since it's 10% of her content on social media, that is a 10% problem within the world itself. So that is why most of the different civil unrest, etc., get promoted. That is why Hamas is paying people to create content, catchy content. That is why Israel is paying people to get content. Because your perception of the global impact of some sort of issues, being that the new Nike shoes or civil turmoil in Gaza, doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter if it is a company, a fact, a war, a new makeup, doesn't really matter. The possibility to enter your space of attention is the most important value they can get. Why? Because your time on social media is limited and you are not actively seeking for information most of the time. You are not really finding out what is happening in the world. How many active wars are there in the African continent that has killed more than 25,000 children in the last 2 years? How many of them? There are almost 10. You don't give a shit about that. You give a shit just on your preferred one, that right now is Gaza. And in a point of, on a point of view, that's your fault, okay? As a conscious human being, you should be aware of what is happening around you outside your bubble. But on another point of view, it's not really your fault. It's a shared fault of all the environment you are living in. It's sort of a fault of the people you are surrounding you with. It's sort of the fault of your interests, but that is how the feed is working right now. Smettete di rompermi le palle che sto facendo lezioni. Sorry. Okay, do not disturb. That is why this peculiar fact is quite scary. The more you are not actively seeking for news, but just looking at the news that cross your feed, the more you are eager to believe, to use, to be exposed on the information that just ends up in your social media feed. That's it. Easy. Easy on your point of view, easy on your mental health, easy on your cognitive ease, easy on my job, feeding you with the narrative I much prefer. Is it all clear right now? Okay. So, these figures, these facts are scary. Not because there are bad actors, not just because there are bad actors like me feeding your content, but not because there are bad social media platforms feeding you with that kind of information, but just because the social media is just an amplifier of something that elicits your mind. And most of the time, things that elicit your mind are not the most correct, not the most true. They are just the most interesting, the most funny, the most, those of them that has more pathos. We will talk about pathos, ethos, and logos. Pathos means emotion, emotionally charged. You care for the Gazan children just because you saw a couple of images about those poor children. Most of them were fakes, by the way. And I'm not against I'm not against one part of the other. Okay, I'm just stating something true. Most of the pictures you get are adulterated, not because bad Hamas or bad Israel, but because there are no press people in Gaza right now, okay? It is technically impossible if you are a journalist to enter Gaza. So every single piece of information you get from within is from one of the sources that one of the two different ruling entities have admitted to go there. Okay? Everything is filtered. And since both of them are just constructing a narrative, it's quite easy to find out. Most of the things you get are pre-approved. If you are attentive to what I just said, I told you that it's not about the platform itself most of the time. Why most of the time? Because the platform has the ability to change your perspective and point of view, and it has been used several times during the course of your life. The only thing they have, the only instrument they have is suppression or promotion. They used that quite extensively during COVID, for example. Suppressing misinformation, or what was thought to be misinformation in that period of time. There were several reports that after a few years we know that were true, that were suppressed not because it was an evil conspiracy, but because in that peculiar time and frame we thought that to be a lie. So closing up social media profiles from misinformator, closing up social media outlets spreading misinformation, and algorithmically altering the reachability, the reach of every single content creator is a way of inhibiting your possibility to stumble into the news. And since most of the news are taken into account just if they happen to be in your social media feed, that means suppressing information. Even if we are not technically removing that information. This is a little bit more challenging. Social media platforms do not have the need of censoring an account. Okay, there is no need of removing content from the platform. Can you see why? If we have Matteo. Matteo is a pro-Russian propagandist. Okay, paid by Russian government, directly paid by Russian government. Okay, let's make it easy. So I'm spreading normally misinformation. So you have disinformation, malinformation, misinformation. Disinformation, I tell you something false, stating that is true. Misinformation, I'm telling you sketchy details about something that may be true or not, and I'm just giving you my point of view on that fact. That may be true or not, but I'm just moving the narration. Malinformation, I'm taking a true fact, but contextually false. Example of disinformation. There is a bomb right now, we have to flee. Okay, that is disinformation. There is not that I am aware of. If you have a bomb, please detonate it now, that I have got a lot of things to do, so it will be easier on my side. So, disinformation, false statement given to you to present something and to create panic or so there is a bomb right now, we have to flee. Misinformation. Water, hydrogen dioxide is dangerous for you. and if you consume too much hydrogen dioxide, you will die. Technically true. Hydrogen dioxide is water. Okay? So if you consume too much water, you are bound to die, technically speaking. So I'm taking a very true fact and giving you my perspective. Malinformation. Immigrants are raping people in Italy. Let's look at the figures. We've had 1,200 different rape attempts in Italy. Yeah, technically true, but in the same space of time, Italian did it twice as much. Okay, so I'm just covering an information with another one. So Matteo is a propagandist. I've got 1 million followers. So every single piece of information that I create, I've got a lot of talents. Drawing is not one of my talents. So this is supposed to be a tree. Every single piece of information I share normally gets 100,000 views. That means that 1/10 of my audience get it, and each and every single one of you has the possibility of sharing, commenting. Every time you comment, every time you like, every time you reshare that content, it amplifies the reach of the original one. If I'm the social media network, I have two ways of altering this kind of information. The first one is easy, okay? I shut down the Instagram profile of the propagandist. Easy, okay? Each and every single piece of information that has ever been shared is deleted. Problem: it's quite easy to spot out. And if you are a pro-Russian fellow, you will just talk a lot about how Facebook or Meta is censoring this kind of information. Please share it on Telegram or another platform. Okay, so the effective reach of that information is quite limited, because not only I will not suppress the information itself, but I will activate something that we will call later on a Streisand effect. That means once I try to shut down a voice, I get a lot of other voices telling, oh, they are trying to suppress this information, share it, they have closed this account, so it must be important, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you are trying to silence someone, and the effect is quite the opposite. It's called Streisand effect, by the way. I'll talk about that later on, just to remind me. So that is the wrong way of suppressing information. There are several different options. One of the options is community notes. Just below that information, you find that on X quite often, and on Meta, on Instagram, on Facebook. Just below that piece of information, you will find out a box with an information box. So if you click on that, you will find out this piece of information is untrue, this piece of information is not really true. There are several different conflicting statements about that. Okay, that is useful for half of your audience. Half. Why? that is useful for people not sharing that point of view. So if I'm pro-Russian and you are against Russia, okay, you will have a little bit of information, say, oh, that isn't true, okay, that's fine with me.
But is it like the comment section?
Sorry? Not really the comment section. It's about it's not about comments. It's a box that appears on the image itself or just below the image itself. You can find that on most Elon Musk posts. Community notes. It's a box. If you open up most of the posts made on X by Elon Musk, you will find out the community notes stating, no, that's true, that's false, okay?
So in each everyone can say its opinion?
Oh, no, community notes are quite a little bit more sophisticated. You have to be registered as a community note user. You have to get some sort of index, and there used to be some peculiar users. It was called, what was the name? Fact checkers, okay, that used to check the information and finding out. And by the way, if you go on a social media platform that still has, for example, a Russian TV and newspaper that is called RT, Russia Today, just below the YouTube channel of Russia Today, you used to find out a note saying, please remember this is a state-sponsored news organization that is bound to tell you what the Russian government wants you to say. Okay, so it's a warning. The problem is, if you are pro-Russian, you don't give a shit about that. Okay? Not only that, you may share it no matter what. So it's not really useful. The third way that is quite a little bit sketchy is shadow banning or forcibly alter the reach. So, you remember, each and every single post that I shared got 100K views. Just out of the sudden, I do another post about a teddy bear. Seems a lot like a pig, but it's okay. Okay, let's make it a pig. I do another post. I always get at least 100,000 views on that post. But I don't know why. This time, I only get 1,000 of them. That's it. And I continue to publish information, and I only get 1,000 of them. Why? Because the social media network has been known to technically alter the reach of some accounts. They can alter the possibility of that piece of information to be recommended to other people. And the problem is not just the first reach, it's a tsunami. The less I get shared to my close contacts, the less all my contacts can see that information, the less they can spread it. This is technically done each and every single day, based on hashtags, based on content, based on risk-based content. Okay? One of the hashtags that is actively manipulated right now, and for a good reason, is thinspo. Thinspo is for women looking at that. Thinspo is thinspiration, is pro-ana, pro-anorexia content. So very skinny people telling you how to be skinny, how you shouldn't eat, etc. Thinspiration and Thinspo is one of the social media feeds that is demoted. Not only that, if you search on Instagram for Thinspo, you will get an alert asking for something like ask for advice, etc. There are several of them, normally dealing with pedophilia and anorexia and suicide prevention. So those hashtags alter the reachability, the possibility of being shared. If you do not know about these dynamics, why am I wasting a lot of my time and your time telling you about that? Because if you do not know about the mechanism and all the things we have that I told you in the previous lectures, you may think that is not really a problem. You know, if I want to find information, I will find that nonetheless. I can search that on Google. I can actively search on some different platforms. I can write down the hashtags in different ways. But the problem is you're not doing that. Statistically speaking, you are just exposed to news. You are not searching for news. So that way of dealing with content is incredibly on point and incredibly useful. While she is looking at the Lebanese content, she may find a Lebanese influencer that is pro-anorexia, talking about something. If she has some sort of problem with her own image, she may be attracted by that information. Tight gap is another one. You know about the tight gap, the space you have between legs. She may find interesting that. She may be, for example, a little bit too concerned with her own image. So she will find that information, she will loop that feed a lot of time, and she will get a lot more of those content. Okay? Technically speaking, there's a name about that. And it's the main reason why we have white supremacist terrorism. It's called auto-polarization. Or auto-radicalization. The more you look into the abyss, the more the abyss is looking at you. The more you search information about something, the more you are exposed to that kind of content. The more you find out information, the more you are exposed to those information. And that is a sort of a closed loop, you know. I search, I stumble upon some sort of content saying, oh, those fucking immigrants are coming, stealing our jobs. And maybe it's a catchy one. Maybe it's a funny one. Maybe it's something that is a dark humor and I like it, okay? There's nothing wrong into smile or laughing, even on bad things, okay? But the more you look at these, the more you find it entertaining, the more content like that you get. The more you look at the Down syndrome jokes, the more you find out about the dark Down syndrome jokes and people shouting about Down syndrome and people promoting the idea of eugenetics, so killing Down syndrome fetuses, the more you are exposed to that dynamic. And if you know about that, if you get the information, if you can remember this kind of dynamic, that is perfectly fine. You just think, okay, look at how funny is that? I'm looking at dark jokes and I get dark jokes. If you are conscious about that. If you are not conscious about that, that just means that your point of view is altered. Because you think most of the people think immigrants are bad for the environment and for the society. Most people think about killing Down syndrome people. Okay? The perceived risk in this kind of behavior and algorithm is not about the algorithm itself. It's about your brain. Because for all a series of dynamics, we will look quite in depth when we will be talking about conscious and unconscious biases. The mere exposure is something that tells your brain that most people think about that subject in that way. So if I end up into some sort of incel jokes about bad women, women are inferior, etc., I end up finding a couple of very, very funny jokes. There are funny jokes about incels. There are funny jokes about almost everything. The more I find that kind of information, the more I get the impression that most people are thinking about that in that way. Couple of things. Streisand effect and algorithm. Let's start with the algorithm. It's not because Facebook or Meta or Twitter are intrinsically bad. They are doing that to keep your attention. If she open up her social media feeds and find out just content upon content upon content of different brands of tires for motorcycle, and she doesn't give a fuck about that, she will just close the application and open another application, okay? As long as I keep her interested, I will get more and more interaction from her. That is the sales point of TikTok, for example. TikTok has the best behavioral algorithm you may find. If you open up TikTok on a brand new account, just the number of milliseconds you spend on the first 10 contents you see will give you more and more content of the same kind. It just takes between 7 and 10 different slides to find out what is interesting and not interesting on you. It's not about the algorithm being bad. It's their solely purpose. They keep you entertained. The problem is there is no difference between the tire brand of Michelin, the brands of shoes, Louboutin or Gucci she's looking at, or Gaza, or Lebanon, or social issues. Streisand effect. The name Streisand effect pinpoint the phenomenon in which you try to suppress some sort of information, and as a result of an action trying to suppress the information gets published. It has to do with Barbara Streisand, the singer, famous old singers. Yeah, she's the name. Why? Because several years ago, I think we are talking 15, 20 years ago, she bought a new home, beach house, I think in Malibu, and one of the top magazines did a lot of aerial photographies of her mansion. And in the photography itself, it not only showed the main entrance, but even the other ones that were used not to be recognized, or when she didn't want to be spotted by photographers. So her lawyer sent a cease and desist letter to the magazine that was bound to publish those photographies. But she not only didn't get the magazine itself to not publish the photos, but she got thousands of different publications of people showing the images and telling you, these are the images Barbara Streisand wanted to hide from you. So a lot more attention resulted from a cease and desist letter. So, and you are over-reliant on people's opinion for purchasing something or for buying something or for doing an experience or the other one. 81% of people, of consumers, get information online about a brand or a product before purchasing the product. And if you think about that, you are the first generation doing that almost constantly. You have to buy something, you find an offer or something, and you go online seeking for reviews, seeking for YouTube videos talking about that. You may search online if one of your top content creators did review that kind of product. Most of the time, you do that even in a shop. There are thousands upon thousands of studies saying that you see something on the shelf, you are close to buying as an instant purchase that kind of information, but you seek online for two things. First of all, a little bit of review. Is it okay for me, or something like that? Is it good or not, etc. Second one, you search it on Amazon to find out if it's a little bit less costly on Amazon. By the way, 10 to 20 euros difference means you are buying that in store. If it's 10 to 20 euros cheaper online, you buy it online. It used to be so. For electronics, for example, there are a couple of different modifiers. For example, people are starting to buy things not in shop, but on Amazon for the insurance, for the return policy. You know that if you buy something at MediaWorld, for example, it's quite difficult to get assistance to getting it back. They will not give you back money, but maybe just a coupon, etc. So you much prefer, if you do not have the immediate need for that item, you buy it online. And you are over-reliant on suggestions. Why over-reliant on suggestions? You get distracted a lot. It's quite normal. Movement has a lot of distraction. That is why I'm jumping left and right almost constantly. It's a little bit tiring on my point of view, but it gets your attention. One of those gimmicks I told you as a neurodivergent person. So, over-reliant on suggestions. You trust online suggestions like they were done by someone you know. So, if my mother, 85% of you trust online reviews like they were given by your close pack of people around you. And that is wrong on so many levels. So many levels. Why? For example, let's switch back to her Lebanese food restaurant, okay? She find out that Lebanese food is quite outstanding. By the way, Lebanese food is outstanding. So if you've never tried the Lebanese food, try it. It's one of the best cuisine in the world. And I'm saying that not on my point of view, as a matter of fact. So she wants to find out Lebanese food. What is she doing? Is she asking a Lebanese friend for the best Lebanese restaurant around? No, not really. Most of the time, she will just open up either Google Maps or TripAdvisor or The Fork. It really depends on your behavior. People stick to the application they use the most. Maybe she will just open up The Fork because she knows that there are several different promotions on The Fork, and she's a little bit tight on budget. Okay, so she will open up her favorite application, The Fork. She will write down Lebanese restaurant, and she will get a list. Maybe for Lebanese food, there are only a couple of them. So let's switch with name? Isabel. Let's switch with Isabel that is just looking for a pizzeria, okay? So she is, are you Italian or foreigner? Yeah, you're Italian. So she will know about pizzeria, but the Chinese food. She's not Chinese. She is in a new city and she wants to dine in a Chinese food restaurant. So she's in Milan, she's looking at Chinese food, and she will find a shitload of Chinese restaurants, okay? So she open up the page, and she will find hundreds of them. She will not read each and every single one of them, not really. She will stick on the first third of the script, of the list, that is the topmost, with two different problems. First one, the first couple of them are advertisement, not really reviews. So if you open up The Fork, if you open up TripAdvisor, if you open up Google, you will find that those are not the best ones. Those are just the advertisement. Most of the time they will have some sort of light background, okay? Or a note somewhere that says this is a sponsored one, okay? So technically speaking, is not really the platform is not really swindling her. But the problem is she is looking to the restaurant right now during the lecture, trying to understand what this fucking person in front of her is saying. She's hungry. Cognitive overload again. So she will take those couple of two. If those two has a fair number of stars, okay, that is fine. Your brain, your stupid brain, not because you're stupid, once again, but your stupid brain just make the assumption top means best. That's it. Or she's quite tech savvy, so she find out the first couple ones are promoted. So let's just forget the promoted ones. Let's take the first couple after the promotions. Fair, isn't that? And she will find out those that have 5 stars, 4.5 stars, okay? the first couple of them that are restaurant A, 5 stars, and restaurant B, 4.5 stars. Most likely, she will just click on the first one. If that is sort of well suited, she will just book that restaurant, and that's it. Problem: the first one has a 5-star average based on 10 reviews. The second one has a 4.5 stars based on 1,200 different reviews. Which one is the best one? Taking the assumption that on one and with more than 1,000 reviews, there are a bunch of idiots saying something like 1 star because it was closed. Or 1 star because we went there and there was too much queue and we didn't get into. 1 star because I asked for a Fiorentina and they didn't give me the Fiorentina. Okay? I see a bunch of you smiling. You know I'm true. You know that's true. Okay? So, as an unconscious bias, she's getting the 5-star reviews for those 10 people. By the way, you can buy reviews. They are quite cheap. They just cost between 2 and 5 euros for each and every single one. So, in very packed cities, most restaurants will buy reviews because it gets, but it's quite easy, you know. You open up a new restaurant, you buy 100 different 5-star reviews, you get in the top part, you go for a couple of months having a bunch of people reserve on you, you give shitty food, you just close the shop, open up with another name, buy 100 reviews, get in the top, do shitty food, close up that name, open up another name, same location, okay? Just opening up different names. A few of the platforms right now don't get you the possibility to open up the same restaurant in the same location, okay? But most of the time, I've got several different examples of restaurants, shitty restaurants in Milan that took the location, some fairly strange locations in which they have they can use different numbers, civic numbers, a dozen of them, just because they can create the new restaurant at number 1, 11, 12, 13 to just come out of that one. So, you get suggestions from people that you do not know, that may be fake people altogether, to do a choice. And that is quite standard, you know, quite standard. How can you overcome that? Well, most of the time you do not rely on 5 stars and 1-star reviews. You just read the reviews between 3 and 4 stars. Why? Think about that. Unless that Chinese restaurant is a 5-star Michelin restaurant, okay, top notch, it doesn't have 5 fucking stars, okay? If someone has given 5 stars, it just means that that person didn't even get enough time to formulate a sort of correct information between 1 and 5 stars. How can you trust someone that is not giving you that is just giving 5 stars or 1 stars, okay? That is sort in the middle. Second part, just look at the floating average. By the way, that is incredibly useful, that trick, on Amazon. If you find out, if you search for any product on Amazon, Amazon will not give you the best on the average, but will give you the best overall average mean. So it means that the product with 1 5-star review will get above the product with 4,000 4.5 stars reviews. It's how you trick the system. Most of the scams are done in that way, and they are incredibly on point. 80%, 85% of people rely on suggestions as they were made from their own family. There are several tricks we can use, and then there are influencers. Okay, influencer is an entire different world. Why? Because influencer give you attention. So this is Global Web Index from Global Web Index is the largest consumer panel in commerce right now. You can ask things to Global Web Index. They do hundreds of thousands of different interviews. And if you are selling cosmetics, how are people exposed to some sort of information, some sort of a new product? Oh, come on. Come on. "65% of internet of users use internet to find a new idea and inspiration." 65%. That figure destroyed an entire business line from women magazines. If you ask your mother or your grandmother, they bought female magazines not for reading the content, okay? To find out inspiration about outfits, about trends, etc. To finding out what was new, what was useful, what was rated, etc. So they didn't go to each and every single shop to find out. They just bought the magazine and found different trends, different outfits, different possibilities, different products, etc. The entire business model of women magazines relied on that. Right now, the same spot is taken by 2 different parts: internet and blogs. 61% of purchases end up being done on something that was seen on blogs. 20% discover new brands on blogs. 20% consult microblogs or single influencer. Single influencer account for microblog. It's that girl you are following that has amazing hair and talk with you about hair products, okay? Or maybe she has her own product or something like that. And 22% discover brands with a celebrity endorsement. Celebrity endorsement is the celebrity talking about. So, by the way, 20% microblogs, 22% celebrity endorsement. Does it mean that they are quiet on the same part? So, spending millions to get Chiara Ferragni promote your brand, or spending a few thousand in microblogs, does it account to the same kind of effect? No. Why? Because the microblogs rely on the product itself. So it's the microblog is someone you refer to for an immediate need. while celebrity gives to the brand itself, is brand positioning. My brand is so strong, so wealthy, so full of resources, is so important that I can hire top celebrities to use my product. But nevertheless, this is quite important into the purchase journey. Have you ever seen this sort of pattern? If you studied marketing, this is the standard marketing course, okay? So, awareness, familiarity, favorability, trust, advocacy. You have to know about that if you are trying to persuade someone, because they are quite different in how they are used and how you can exploit them. So, awareness means I know that that product exists, okay? I get the need of that product. Maybe I'm a fan of mascara, okay? And I'm quite vexed with some mascara brands because the longest eyelashes I can get on mascara is 5 millimeters. Okay, I'm just making stuff up. Okay, so there is no product that is giving you a 2 centimeter eyelashes. I don't know why you would need the 2 centimeter eyelashes. Don't do that. Okay, it's quite scary, but maybe you want them. So, no products at all. Awareness is launching a new product that gives you 2 centimeter eyelashes. From that moment on, you know that brand exists. That is a possibility you can tap into. You didn't know about that. Okay? Let's make another example. I've got motorcycle tires, and I normally change my tires every 10,000 kilometers. Seems I'm a fucking bastard on my motorcycle. So I tend to keep the idea of staying alive. So normally you get different tire brands between 9,000 kilometers and 16,000 kilometers. That's it. No other possibility. If there is a new brand that gives you one pair of tires, one tire set that lasts for 100,000 kilometers guarantee, that is awareness. And most of the time, if you do an awareness campaign, you don't give a shit about the name of the brand. That is quite counterintuitive. But you may know about that. How many times you've asked someone or searched something online because you remembered some part of the product but didn't remember the name? Okay? Something like XK2WY eyelash mascara from whatever the fuck. 2 centimeter eyelashes. You see that everywhere, okay? You see that on billboards, you see that on buses, you see that in television, and you want. She finished up her mascara. Sorry, you are the first. Okay, she is looking. Sorry, first line is always the worst one. And I'm quite partial on girls, so sorry about that. So she finished up her mascara and think about that and says, okay, I would love to try the 2 centimeters mascara, okay? What's the fucking name of that product? I can't remember. Okay, so you may think that all the advertisement campaign failed miserably because you can't remember the name. But that was not the purpose. An awareness campaign has a completely different aim.
The aim is to be in her mind as a need, okay? So she will just search online. A lot of our customers launch a new product with a shitty name, a shitty brand, not recognizable brand, etc. And you find out people are looking at that, not looking at searches for the brand name, but searching something like, what the fuck is the name of the 2 centimeter eyelash mascara on Google? And you find that out. That's fine. That's the aim of awareness. The second part is familiarity. And that is the second step you have to reach. Familiarity means you are in her mind when she has to purchase something new. So she end up finish her mascara and has to buy a new mascara. Okay? What's your name? Arianna. Arianna has finished her mascara and she has to buy a new one. Depending on how your brain is structured, I'm physically thinking about brain structure. In her mind, she doesn't have all the different brands, okay? Never in your life you have got all brands in your mind. Not at all. That is why you have to compile down a list with pros and cons. If she is not neurodivergent, most of the time she has 3 brands in her mind, just the 3. First one, the brand her mother, her sister, her grandmother were using. First one, okay? The traditional one within the family. If I'm talking about him, what's his name? Huh? Elib. Okay, sort of. If he has to buy a new car, first brand in his mind, his parents' car, the car that his father has always bought, etc. First in her mind. She may like it, not like it. She may despise the brand, okay? She may even think, I'm never buying that grandmother fucking mascara in my life. And he would think, no, that is an awful car. I hate, I despise that. I will never buy that. But the first brand in your mind is that one. The second one is the one you would buy if money weren't an option. Okay? So, for example, she is looking with starry eyes at a L'Oreal mascara that is 200 euros for a mascara. Okay? And he is looking at a Lotus Elise. Don't buy a Lotus Elise. I've had it. Is a death machine. It's a fucking go-kart. It's not a car. And so the second one is if money weren't an option. The third one is the best value for money brand. Okay? That is where you are normally living as a brand. You want to be in that sector. So, let's come back one slide. You are hiring a supermodel, a celebrity, etc. If you want to end up in her and his second spot, okay? Money weren't an option, the best in class. If you want to position there, and not all brands want to position there, not all brands can compete in that arena, okay? Even if even if Lexus wanted to position as the car, etc., it will not be able to compete with Porsche, McLaren, Ferrari, Lamborghini. So that is celebrity. If you want to be in the second place, you hire a celebrity. If you want to be in the third one, you have to compete with people with a little bit of attention. So, the aim of a familiarity, that is not only awareness, is to be present there. So enough repetition, enough pushing into her bubble, then when she goes and says, okay, I have to buy the new mascara. No, my grandmother won. No, still no. I'm still too young to use that kind of mascara. Do I have 200 euros for buying a mascara? Unfortunately, right now, not. Okay, I will go back to, which brand? Lancôme, I don't know. Let's go back to Lancôme. I don't know. Huh? Okay. When she is bound to buy that usual Lancôme, she has some sort of intuition. Oh, there was the other one, the 2 centimeter one. What was the name again? And she will find out. So your aim is not to be the top of mind, is entering the second or third step in that one. So mere exposition. And mere exposition works with repetition. With mere, the correct name is mere exposure effect. How many times I'm exposed to that kind of information. There are a few, we will talk about that, there are a few beautiful paper and research on mere exposure effect that are quite outstanding. But she has to buy that, and she remembers that yesterday or the day before, she saw her post on Instagram or the post from one of the girls she's following online, saying, oh, I tried this one, it's quite good, And so if the price point is within reach, she may try it. That is the aim. It's not about selling you the best product at all. It's not selling you legacy. It's not selling you belonging. He may buy a car in the same brand of his father. Why? Because he doesn't want his father to bother him every now and then saying, you see, you bought a shitty car, you had to buy a Mercedes. Okay, it may be a reason why, but if that is the reason why, you will not be able to convince him other way, okay? And you will not be able to convince her to pay $200 for a mascara if she doesn't have that kind of power of spending right now. But you will be able to switch a couple of places, one place in her mind. That is the top of mind. That is familiarity. Next step, another beautiful one. Familiarity. The magnet the brand has on your attention. She buys the new 2 centimeter eyelashes, etc. And it works quite fine, She uses that a couple of times, and then she throws it away because 2 centimeters is quite difficult to have. Every time she closes her eyelashes, I get moved back a couple of meters, and that is quite difficult to manage. And she has beautiful eyes, by the way, she doesn't need it. And I shouldn't say that. That is a molestia. Matteo, smettila. Sorry. You do not have nice eyes. It's horrible, horrible ones. No, that is body shaming. What the fuck? You have very average eyes. Okay. So, by the way, she tried that, and that was a new brand. She doesn't know anything about that brand. It's a new brand. She used the product, and effectively speaking, the brand fulfill the brand promise. The brand promise was not being animal friendly. The brand purpose was 2 centimeter eyelashes. That's fine. It works. Maybe you don't like it, but it works. End of month, she finished her lipstick, and she has a problem with lipstick because it's not really, she has a problem with lipstick because doesn't really stick on for more than a couple of hours. And you know what? The same brand of the 2 centimeters eyelashes has a lipstick that is a 24/7 lipstick, by the way. Why are you fucking placing 24-hour lipsticks? It's a master move. Okay, you're hurting your lips, by the way. So there is another brand. You know, favorability is the implicit trust you give a brand when one other product from the same brand has fulfilled all the different promises. So she tried the mascara. Effectively speaking, it was a 2 centimeter eyelash mascara. She trusts that the lipstick, even if she doesn't know anything about it, she didn't see any kind of recommendation, etc., but she trusts it, and she buy the lipstick. There is no advertisement based on that. It's not about reviews. It's just favorability. When you fulfill some sort of prophecy, some sort of promise with your customer, with a brand, most of the time, the customer will remain in your ecosystem for more things. That is quite normal in Japan with multinational companies. You buy Hitachi for the air conditioning. You have a very good experience with customer care. You have to buy a kitchen or a fridge. You buy an Hitachi fridge. You don't know anything. You don't know shit about Hitachi fridge. You don't know shit about Hitachi whatever the fuck. But you are reliant on the brand. That brand has your favorability. And that's it. Next step are the most important. That means trust. So she has I don't know, 2 years in using, I'm sorry, you're the caviar today. If you're uncomfortable, I'll switch caviar. She has been using the lipstick and the mascara for a couple of years. Then the company gets sold, okay? And the quality of product tanker. So the problem is shitty. Problem is she still has trust. So it doesn't suffice to buy one single mascara and finding out it's not working. She will stick for another year on the same brand. Why? Because if the first mascara she bought didn't fulfill the promises, she would just ignore the brand and switch to another one. But when you build a little bit more trust, even if your product is tanking, something goes bad, you still have some sort of value, implicit trust on the brand that will help the brand survive on the long queue. Well, of course, she's not stupid, so when she buy 1, 2, 3, 4 different ones, you know, most of the time she doesn't really even think about that. She is in the shop. She knows that has almost finished the mascara. She's talking to the phone to her grandmother. She has to do a little bit of errands. She's not really thinking about that. She just grabbed the same one that is not working again because it's easier on a cognitive point of view, and that's it. So it will end up using the same product again and again and again and again for a lot of different time. That is the trust model. And last one, advocacy. If she finds the product that is working, if some of you, if you right now are going to buy something to eat, and someone of her friends asks, okay, what? I have to buy a new mascara. Did someone of you has some sort of recommendation? She will just recommend you the same mascara. So, a stupid example using mascara, underlying all the different values of reputation. Reputation is awareness. You promise fulfilling some sort of need, and you just market the fulfillment of the need or the value. The new mascara, the new nail polish that is vegan friendly, okay? I have to buy a nail polish. I remember there is the new one that is completely vegan, and I will search online vegan nail polish and finding that up. Familiarity, the top of mind. All the different brands that not only fulfill your idea, but it's sort of known in your whereabouts. You get exposed to that. So reputation help to get into the top of mind. Not only that, reputation sort of lingers through all your different products and services. So if my brand has a good reputation on product X, you may want to have a try on products Y, Z, W. Not only that, building a long-lasting reputation helps you in case of crisis, in case something bad happens. She will buy, if one batch of if the product has a problem, a known problem on a batch of product, she will stick on the product. She will not just switch immediately. If he bought a Mercedes and his Mercedes doesn't really work as good, he will stick on Mercedes. His mind will just think, this is not the normal. This is an unfortunate event, okay? So you will, if the reputation is strong enough, it will survive different crises, and if reputation is good enough, you get recommended by your users, and you end up into the same spiral. That means finding that online, entering the bubble, being talked about, being top of mind, being favorable, being familiar, being favorable, being trusted, being proposed, etc. That is all you have to do and all you have to know on reputation. See you in a bit.